Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for signing up for our webinar and coming out this morning. We appreciate it. We're pretty informal, so if at any point in time you have any kind of question, certainly put it in the chat. Jerry will be monitoring it, and I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are and all that good stuff, but just wanted to do some housekeeping before we start. Like I said, I am recording it, and so just want to let you know what we're going to talk about today is the content management and setting this up so you can manage a successful CMS. So that's really what our webinar is going to follow, and we'll get into more details just a minute. So we are Software Analysis Corporation. My name is Jeanine Rohde. I'm a partner here at Software Analysis. I've been a software consultant for 30 plus years. My partner Jerry is also on the webinar today, and she's also a software consultant who has her master's in project management and really brings this focus to every project that we work on. A little bit about the company itself. We've been around. We were incorporated in '84, really with the idea of working closely with our firms to select, install, and implement software packages. Throughout the years, that's kind of morphed into something a little bit different. And we really work with businesses, consulting with them to implement the best practices, procedures, and software products that might meet their needs. Additionally, we work with firms of, really small to medium-sized firms, but depending on what the product or process is, we will work with larger firms. But generally what happens is that the firm already owns software, and what we really do is help them utilize it in the best way possible, because as our tagline says, because your software does more than you know. Jerry, do you have anything you want to add to that, or are we good to go forward?
I think we're good to go forward. I'm happy that everybody's here, and I want to wish everybody a happy winter day, because it's very cold in Chicago today.
Yeah, being in Chicago is not the greatest, although I will take a little bit of the cold over some of the snow that we had yesterday. So it kind of goes both ways. So that's a little bit about us. And certainly if you have any questions about that, go ahead and put it in the chats. There's a specific package if you want to know that we support or anything like that, put it in there. And then what I like to do whenever I start off a webinar, I really like to kind of get some type of feel of where our attendees are coming from. So in this case today, I'm going to do a poll on just what industry you work in. It doesn't have, I'm not looking for any other type of information, firstborn, nothing like that. So I'm going to put up a poll, and if you could go ahead and answer the poll to the one that best suits where you're at, that would be great. So we'll just give that a minute or two for everyone to kind of fill out. Because what we're going to do with this is that as we go through and have discussions, we work with so many different types of organizations that in certain cases, when we're giving examples, we can kind of focus maybe more in one area than the other to make it a little bit more pertinent to your life as well. So I think that works out pretty well. So we've got 3 answers, and I think we're just waiting for a 4th, but I think I know what that
is. It's a phone, so she probably can't participate.
Oh, she probably can't. That's true. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. Thank you very much. And we will, I'll just share the results just so everybody else out there can kind of see where people are coming from. We have accounting, finance, engineering, marketing. I know there's some legal law in there mixed in a little bit as well, just because I have one of my friendly clients on the webinar today as well. But this gives us, like I said, some insight into where you're coming from. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing that, and then we will, let's see. where did that? There we go. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. I apologize. So the whole point of this webinar is really to talk about content management, right? So the issue with this is that content management means different things to different people. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what it is and what are the different types of content management out there. We're going to talk about where you're at in the process. If we have, people who want to answer that, have you assessed what your requirements are? And if you haven't, and if we don't want to talk about it, that's okay too. We're going to have some slides further on that are going to talk about what you can do when you go back to the office. Who are your players? Identifying who the players are in your firm. You may not really kind of like know who does what at this point, but when you come out of this webinar today, you're going to be able to say, okay, that's a creator, that's an administrator. So that'll be very important for you to start moving forward if you don't already have content management implemented in your firm. What are your current processes? Now that can be as simple as an Excel spreadsheet. It can be simple as an intake form. Those all can be types of content management. We're going to maybe take that to the next level once we've been able to identify where you're at in the process. And then if we talk about those processes, I still work with firms that do things really manually. They will make a request to a client and the client will either send in handwritten notes, or perhaps the client will send out a Word document that has been printed and the client will send it back with the pertinent information they're requesting. What can be automated? I mean, there's a lot there that can be automated, and we'll talk a bit about that. And then finally, what does content management bring to the table? Okay, if we're going to go through all of this, right, what does it bring to the table? Why do we do this? Why do we want to even discuss this? And how can it benefit my firm? Okay, so those are the 6 points that we're really going to focus on today as we go through this presentation. Okay, so the next one, excuse me. So what is content management? Well, this is the wiki definition of content management, which I'm not going to read to you. It's in here. You guys will all get copies of the slide deck after the presentation. But basically, to sum it up, it is the process for collecting, delivering, retrieving, and the overall management of information, no matter what the format is. Some of it may be electronic, some of it may be in paper form, some of it may be printouts of pictures or graphs or things like that. So what we're really talking about is how do we manage all of this, and then where do we save it? How do we send it out? How do we deal with it? How do we work with it? So that's really what content management is all about. Okay. So that being said, there are several types of content management systems. And you'll see here, there's 5 different types. We're going to go through each one of these in greater detail. So I'm not going to read them off at this point, but just know that different types of data are treated differently. And that's really, in its simplest form, what we're focusing on today. Okay. The first one we're going to look at is we're going to look at what's called CCMS, which is Component Content Management Systems. And essentially what this means is that it is going to, I think we're all familiar with saving a document to the hard drive, right? You type up, whether it's a Word document or some type of document that has text in it, you may cut and paste a picture into it, and that document as a whole gets saved to the network. Well, with a CCMS, what happens is it saves each of those components separately. So it'll take that graph that you have in your document and save it over here in its repository. It's going to go over here and take this block of text, and it's going to take that block of text and save it over here. So basically it breaks down all of those pages into individual, even down to the word, the phrase, photos, and puts it somewhere that it's easily retrievable. Some of the benefits of that is, you tend to not have to spend a lot of time searching when you have this type of system. You can go right to, logos or charts. So for instance, if you're doing a quote for a client and you want to include some statistical information about your firm or about the product, you're able to go directly to that location and pull something that's the most current. So the reusability of this information is a huge benefit of implementing a CCMS. Also, in most systems, there's a traceability. And what that means is that who created the content, who edited the content. So you're able to trace who treats what and how. So that way, if you have questions about where did they get the information or why did they change it, you have somebody that you can go talk to. And it also really enhances the team collaboration. So most firms, when they're implementing some type of system like this, or if they have a system in place, it really talks about team collaboration, right? So I'm over here, I'm a really good text person. I'm able to write up good text. So I write this up, but I have somebody over here who is great with graphics. It gets them to work together. They store their information, they can share information. And especially with those teams that are working remotely, like so many of us are, it really helps to have that one central location where everybody knows where to go to get the information. One of the things too is that, some people like to liken this to Microsoft Word. And, we talked about examples of quotes and having, consistency. And this helps with consistent in branding, consistency in graphics, consistency in logos. So this type of system is really good at promoting that. So we're not saving a whole Word document, but we are saving the components of a Word document.
So Jeanine,
Yeah.
when you had first started to talk about it, I was thinking with Microsoft Word, yeah, I can do all of that with Microsoft Word. I can create a document and I can keep keep everything in there. But when you talked about being able to access it separately, again, this is something, if you were really a Word expert, that you could do. But one of the things that you mentioned, which I just wanted to go back and highlight, is that if you used a CCMS system, instead of cannibalizing Word documents and things like that, you can create it once. And then you talked about you being able to send that out in all different kinds of channels, multiple channels. Including, we're all trying to get to and from these chatbot things. So I was interested in that we talked, that a chatbot, so you can have that information and keep it current all the time. You had some other uses, I think, that you had mentioned also in the multiple channels.
I think that every business is a little bit different in how you produce your output that goes to vendors, to clients, internal messaging. I think that when you're working with a CCMS, across the board, you have that consistent message, whatever it happens to be. And I think that by breaking it up and it's in a central repository, really cuts down on that turnaround time as well. Because if I'm working on a website and I need our logo because I'm putting this new page on, I don't have to go into 16 different sources or go look at an old Word document that might have had that logo. I can go right to the repository, pull the logo, and get it on our website. And I know it's the most current version of our logo. So it's really important.
Thanks.
The next one is probably the one that is most popular, I would say, at least among our clients, is a document management system. And it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But basically, it is just what the definition says. It's a paperless solution. So you can have all of your paperwork, whether it's documents you're creating, it's receipts that you have for your expense reports, all of that can then be saved up into a document management system. And a document management system can be an on-premise document system. It can be one that's in the cloud. It really depends on what your needs are. I think that more and more organizations have found that they can be in the cloud safely. So I think that, especially everybody, again, working remote, they're utilizing these systems such as Net Documents and even some of the, other ones like Word document, iManage and World Docs.
World.
Yeah, sorry. I know there was a word in there. I just couldn't get it out. But basically what it does, and I think some of the most important things that you walk away from with a document management system is it a secure collaboration vessel? Can I save something and then, for instance, my partner Jerry, we're not in the same location, but we share documents. Like I could walk next door into her office and it's right there. So, having a DMS really helps with that collaboration, on the go, document editing and things of that nature. Now, eco-friendly, that's obviously always a benefit. Everybody's trying to work to get away from, the paper shuffle and whatnot. But really some of the biggest, probably the biggest area that I talk to my clients about is really security. So one of the packages that we support and we work with quite often is Net Documents. And we work with Net Documents for a few different reasons. One is, if security is so important to our clients, it really is a security system that also does document management, because that is how secure that they are. The banks rely on them and whatnot. But it's scalable as well. So whether I'm a one-person shop or I'm a 10,000 person shop, I can scale that up to meet the needs of the firm. So we really find that to be really helpful. And then having mobile ability, again, whether it be Net Documents or an app that's on your phone or something, people are working from everywhere now, right? I mean, I'd like to be saying I was working from a beach today, but we're not. But I work with clients all the time where they're calling me on their phone. They're waiting to go into Costco and we're having a business meeting in the parking lot, that type of thing. So everybody really wants that, that ease of doing it. And again, like I mentioned, collaboration as well. So
Jeanine, is OneDrive, Google Docs, Dropbox, are those DMS systems? And why not just use those?
Depends to the level of what you need from your DMS. So let me put it this way. Box probably has, out of those that you mentioned, the most features, right? It allows you to meet up to or get close to what a real DMS does. But like the other packages, you're not able to profile documents. So you really want to look at not just a document storage system, which some of these are, like Google Docs. It's a storage and it's a sharing vessel. But it doesn't lend itself, and some of these other ones don't lend themselves for advanced searching. If I want to search for a document and I want to do a full text search, I don't want it to take 20 minutes. I want it to be instantaneous if possible. So my goal really is to decide on what are those needs for my staff. Do they, how much time a day do they spend searching? Well, if searching is really important, then we're looking at something that's a little bit formalized, that they've got a profile and whatnot. We also talk about the security. So we have Box, we have Dropbox, we have, even at the professional levels of those, some of those have proven over time to not be as secure. So it really is going to come down to the individual user's needs and where you are in your security disaster recovery process. Our IT person is all about security. So there are some things that we are not allowed to use. I won't mention what we can't use, but you'll want to have that conversation with your IT person. If you don't have an IT person, we have several that we work well with, not only in the Chicago area, but nationally. So, so that's something we can also share with you as well. The next one is, there we go, is the Enterprise Content Management System, or ECM. Now, there are different packages that we have that fit into different baskets, if you will. So the way that an ECM is designed to work is that it is not just for in-house. So it's not just, for instance, Jerry and I sharing documents, collaborating on documents. And it's really not even if we're just trying to collaborate. Let's say I'm a law firm and I want to collaborate with another attorney on something. This takes it a step further. In ECM, because it's enterprise, so whenever you see enterprise, you know it's going across the gambit, that they are looking to collaborate, collect, organize, deliver across all the people that they work with. So whether it's their employees, it's their customers, business stakeholders, vendors, it's whoever needs access to their information or just parts of their information. It may not be that they need access to everything, and ECM allows you that security level to say, okay, well, these vendors get to see this information over here. Maybe this is they can only see their POs, or my employees. We have a whole separate area where we have all of our handbook and our insurance information, and anything that would, our calendar of the year of days off, all of that, those kinds of things. So that's really where the ECM shines. In addition to that, ECMs also have and maintain retention periods of documents. Some of the other packages that are out there allow you to define retention periods, but they don't do anything. So for instance, if you say you need to keep this document for 5 years because it's for tax purposes, at the end of the 5 years, it'll say, okay, 5 years is up. What do you want to do? In an ECM, what they do is they do the same thing, but they also allow you to then go ahead and delete them. And what that does is it ensures that you're not taking up unnecessary space with stuff that you no longer need to keep. And then, as the slide says, that process can be automated. So you don't have to necessarily punch a button. But then again, when we're talking about deletion, we like to have a little bit of control on that so we can confirm what for sure is being deleted. Let's see. The ECM also provides, one of the benefits it provides is flexibility. So again, you can work from it from any location. There are more bells and whistles than just a straight out document management system. Increases our efficiency. So now that documentation is taken care of, you can be more productive in your day to day because you've written something here and it's now been distributed out to the business stakeholder. So you're kind of free for the day. So I read a statistic actually just recently. I'm gonna have to read it because I can't memorize it. That there was such a dramatic shift. One analysis was in 2017 that said the overall ECM market will exceed $31.6 billion with cloud-based solutions accounting for 31% of that total market value. So by 2022, here we are, cloud content management approaches will grow to a robust 29% compounded annual growth rate. So they're already saying that by this year, so I know there was a prediction in 2017, but they're already saying that within 2022, where we were just a few short years ago, we're going to just, exceed the market by 31%. So I think you'll see more and more of this, in the technology magazines and blogs and whatnot, that they're going to be talking more and more about this. The next one is web content management systems. And really this is, I mean, it's in the title, right? This is a system that tracks and controls and manages all of your electronic content with relationship to your websites. So, you know, it's mostly graphical, it's mostly, all digital type of formats, but the joy of these types of systems is that if you're a person who's intimidated by designing websites, like I think most of us are to a certain extent, we have somebody that we go to. If you implement a web content management system, you can do drag and drops. You don't have to understand or know the technology that's in the background that's happening. You don't have to know HTML. You don't have to know any of that kind of programming or have a programming background to utilize the tools. They've made it so user-friendly where a lot of it is drag and drop. Yeah, you may have to decide on what color you want, but I can do that. I don't have to know what the code is for that particular color. So these types of systems really, really aid in that. So automates a lot. So you can kind of set it and forget it. It's kind of how we work in PowerPoint to a degree. You pick a format of PowerPoint and it can apply to all your slides if you like. Well, that's the same type of thing that web content management does. So if you get that particular software, it's going to say, okay, design the first or pick out the first kind of format that you like. And now we'll just apply to the subsequent web pages. So that way we stay consistent with our message, our branding, and all that good stuff.
Well, I'm just glad that I don't have to know how to do all that stuff.
Me too. Me
And
too.
then I could just go into WordPress and grab the graphics and put them in my blog that I'm writing.
Absolutely. And WordPress is a great package for this. So if you're looking to have that in-house and bring that type of work in-house, WordPress is really great at helping non-technical or even those that are technical. It just makes it even easier for them, but it really helps with, you know, getting your blog out there and having a consistent message. So that would be a package that you could, you know, take a look at if you were so inclined. The next one, if I can get it to go, the next one is a DAM system. So it's a digital asset management. And this really is, the importance of these are that we're really, again, we're sharing digital content. It's not necessarily specific to our website, but it is non-paper assets that we own. So for instance, we're doing a webinar today. We're recording the webinar today. That will become a digital asset that we could then reuse on our YouTube channel, on our website, or what have you. Send it out to individuals who couldn't make it. We have many people who are doing this on demand. So they will be able to view this at their leisure. And that's what this type of system allows you to do. It becomes a central repository for all of these different video, audio, digital content that you have. Again, one location, and I think that's a common theme amongst all of these systems. You have one-stop shopping. You go there, you can pull out what you need and utilize it appropriately for your firm. Some of the benefits, again, centralized repository, as I said. Again, brand management. I think that anybody who's really concerned about their brand and making sure that they're delivering a consistent message, that implementing one or some of these systems and or processes is something that really will help with that and simplify that. And then when you have a system like this and you are working with a third party, whether it be a marketing organization or whether it's even just like YouTube and whatnot, it really allows you to pick and choose and send things out to those different organizations much easier. You know, so this is a good system to consider. And let's actually, now that we're here, let's do a poll. Again, another short poll. This is just, what are people doing Now, so let's do, let me just pull up this other poll. Let's just see what people are doing now, if you don't mind. I'm curious, and it may be nothing at all, and that's okay too. But I'm just curious to see if you're using any kind of system, and if it's not a formalized system, even if it's an Excel spreadsheet, or maybe if you're a law firm using Time Matters, or perhaps you're using, if you're a manufacturing organization, you're using Salesforce to perhaps collect information. What are you finding, whatever systems that you have in place, what are you using it now? So what are you using to do it?
And there's multiple choice. So if you're doing several things, we talked about that everybody's got it. You're doing it, even if you have a server and that's it, you're just keeping your stuff on your server.
Yep. And it's a hard one too, because even I think, no matter where you are in the cycle, I think that everybody struggles to a certain degree with, we've got this data, what do we do with it type of thing. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So, okay. Well, it looks like the gist of it is that I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. Oh, no, I'll wait a second because somebody's still polling. Give it one more second. Yeah, well, it looks like people are, looks like you are. I don't have anybody doing nothing. So that's really encouraging, is that people are seeing the value in this. I'm going to end the poll, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share the results. So you'll see that, people are collecting data from their clients, intake forms, etc. That's great. And then managing your website and e-commerce, fantastic. There's a lot of automation that goes along with that. I have a firm that I work with, and they have a bot on their website that communicates with somebody, sends them the right form electronically. They fill out the electronic form, and then at front end, it comes right back in. He doesn't have to touch anything. At front end, it goes right into his practice management package. It's pretty phenomenal what some people are doing. But even the storing of documents, I think that, people store the documents in a fashion where it's organized and makes sense. And then there's some, reasoning to how it's organized. I think that that's always a good start as well. So I'm going to stop sharing that. Thank you for filling that out. I always like to get a feel for what people are doing. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to close out of that. And we're going to move on to our next slide here. Oops. Yeah, that's right. So where can we use content management? So, there's so many creative ways to utilize it. People are using it on their websites, blogs, the chat bots, collaborating, whether it's internally or externally, practice management systems, whether you're a finance person, whether you're a law firm. And practice management really could be even defined as sales management. So if you're in more of a manufacturing sales environment, looking at Salesforce or whatnot, again, that's all content management. You're collecting information, integrating with other packages, front-ending different packages. So you're collecting it from one spot, like I was just explaining, and sending it over. Document storage, being able to search once you have some type of content management, whether it's on your server, whether it's some packages, is just really being able to get at that information in a timely manner and have it be valuable information. Because there's nothing more frustrating than I'm searching for this thing of text, and the information that's coming back at me is everything but what I've asked for. And that becomes a little bit frustrating. So we want to make sure that the searching is, well handled. And then of course, marketing. I think that as long as whatever you're doing and whatever you're collecting, how can you use that to market better? I mean, we spend so much time collecting data from our clients, and some of it is, case-based, or it's project-based, or it's, we need to know what type of, if we're manufacturing or engineering, what type of machinery are they using, or, you know, those, and it's important to collect that information as well, because then we can turn it around and say, okay, hey, we've got this new service that we're providing to this type of machine, or we're starting up this new fraction of our law firm for estate planning. Would you be interested? Those types of things. So really being able to take the information that you're collecting, reviewing it to make sure that the information you're collecting is valuable, and then all of the different things that you can use it with is, I think it's a game changer for any firm to really get to know their data and then to use it. So how do we do that? How do we get there? Well, I think whoopsie, sorry about that. First, you have to really start off and look at what are your requirements, your firm requirements, because they're going to be different than my firm requirements. And there's so many things that can go into that. It can be the size of your firm, the type of firm, how you reach your clients. Are they local? Are they international? So all of those things you have to kind of think about. And then what do you want to achieve with your content? I mean, what are you looking to do? What's the end goal here? So you really want to kind of know what I like to tell my clients a lot of times when I'm working on a different projects is that, okay, let's start at the end. What is the deliverable you're looking for, and how do we get there? Because if we start over here saying, okay, we're going to do A, B, and C, and it gives us F over here, and it doesn't give us what we're really looking for, then we kind of wasted our time over here. So we start at the end and kind of work back in some cases. Think about where you are right now in terms of personalized relationships. And I think that now more than ever over the past couple of years, where are we with our relationships with our customers and our clients, and how far do you want to go? What is it that you want to do with them? Like, where do you see there's some organizations and some industries really lend themselves to, I don't know, kind of a touchy-feely kind of friendship, or kind of touchy-feely kind of relationship. And I mean that in the nicest way, not the weird way. But then there's others that, you know what, I just really want to build a customer list. I just want the biggest customer list that I can just send out as many postcards to them to announce things as possible. Okay, it depends. I mean, different industries, different personalities are treated differently. So something to think about. And then think about what would work best in your organization. I'm working with a firm right now, and while I encourage them to purchase a turnkey system, because I already had worked with them for many years and knew the depth of the time that they had, their time frame in which they wanted something implemented, and the amount of resources they could throw at this project. And I suggested, maybe turnkey is your way to go. Well, they've decided that they're going to go very customized, which is fine. And I will be with them every step of the way, but something you need to look at, and you need to say, what makes the best sense? What is it that I need? Is there something out there already that can meet this need? Maybe not 100%, but does it hit it at 90%? And maybe that's worth it. Maybe that other 10% that it doesn't do or collect or what have you, it's okay, because the amount of time, resources, and quite frankly, money that it takes to customize something, you can do that with a fraction of a cost with a turnkey system. So when you're assessing your requirements, really take these three to heart. And I think that you'll be better for it in the long run. Not to sound preachy, but I think you will. The next one is, now you have to think about who your players are. And we're talking about those individuals in your office. Look around. Who are your creators? Your creators are those people that are responsible for creating and editing content. Well, for me, I have good days and I have bad days about being able to create content. Sometimes I'm really creative, and then there's I can go for weeks without be like, oh, I can't write that, and then finally I'll write it. So I may not be the first person you want to go to if you're looking for a quick turnaround on a blog post. I'm totally honest. But there are other people in our organization that are fantastic. They can just, they have an idea waiting to go and they're just, burning paper to get it done. Who's your editor in your office? They fine tune things. They really know what's, how to deliver it. And, if we're talking about, we're in Chicago, maybe we want to, as it says, translate it and based on our location and talk about the weather and how it's freezing cold and the snow's out. And maybe, so you have somebody there who can come up with these other ideas to make the information more pertinent to your audience. And then we have a publisher. Again, that's pretty straightforward. They release the content, so that's pretty straightforward. An administrator, they manage the process. So you have to have somebody who's in that position that manages the process, the access to different pieces of information, because again, not all information is deemed releasable. It could be a timing issue. It could be that, okay, we're producing this press release, but it's not happening for 2 weeks. Well, then we're not releasing it now, right? So, but that administrator is going to handle that and make sure that things go out when they're supposed to go out. So, and then of course they also assist different users in supporting them and their needs and whatnot. And then finally, think about, and I think companies tend to overlook this, is that who is going to be viewing the content that you're putting out? Who is that consumer? What do you think that they really are looking for? So really make sure, like if I'm going to be posting this on my blogs that we're a software company, well, maybe dog grooming is not what people are going to be interested in seeing. It might be because everybody loves dogs, but it may not be the appropriate information. So really always think about who your consumer is and who's going to be viewing the information.
So Jeanine,
yeah,
I just wanted to mention here that, for me, as I look at our firm and what we do, it's like, well, that'd be great. I'd love if I had a creator, I had an editor, I had a publisher. We're not that big of a firm. That's just not happening. Those don't necessarily need to be individual people. Sometimes, unfortunately, it's one person with many hats. The point is that these things need to be they need to be done. They need to be completed. And in some cases, you can wear multiple hats. In terms of editing, forget it. I can't proofread to save my life. And if we can't find somebody in the firm that can do that proofreading or whatever, we have people that we contract with outside the firm that can do some of that work for us. The fact is that the stuff has to be done depending on how professional and how major of a release it is. We have to go to outside people for some of this content help. Thanks.
That's a really great point. Yeah, because like I said, I'm not great at creating necessarily. If I'm under the gun, I'm okay. But absolutely, it doesn't have to be just individual people for each of these. So that's a super point. So the next thing really is, if we're, we've gone through the different types, we've gone through the players. Now you need to look at, in your organization, your process. So again, not all of these processes fit every firm. So just like Jerry pointed out with the last slide, in that, that the players are not necessarily different people. Not all of these processes are going to fit in every firm, and maybe not in this order as well. So what I would suggest is that I'm not going to read every single one of these, but I would say that look through these when you get the slide deck, and we're going to just briefly go over them and say, this is the life cycle. And, first start off by organizing, start off by categorizing and designating and classifying the type of content that you have or want to have. Okay. Once you have that, then you start creating the content based on what you determined in the first step under organization. But you need to kind of decide, get a plan together as far as what you think you want going forward. If it's a web page, well, then that's different information than if you're doing a marketing slick. It's different if you're doing a YouTube video. So decide what that first step is going to be. Next, we have storage. Think about where you're storing this information. Are you going to store it up in an enterprise system or a document management system, or are you going to store it on your server? All of those are great ideas. Just make sure that wherever you decide to store this content, that you have, if it's a server, that you have enough room on your server, that the right people have access to it, and that you have a way to easily search for the data and deliver the data. That's kind of the biggest bottleneck I feel that my clients experience is locating and then delivering pieces of information. And then develop rules. We have workflows for everything in firms these days. You need to have that too for your content management. Put the rules in place so everybody knows what can be released, when it can be released, who it can be released to, and have that documented so there are no questions. And then finally, we have the editing and versioning. And really this, you know, we're forever making changes to our documents and to different things. But if you can keep what I suggest is, and especially in this this point, is that we might start off with document A over here, and over time, whether it's weeks, months, years, it morphs into something else. But it's always nice to have all of those different versions to see where we've come from, to see maybe perhaps something we want to go back to, and also just to kind of see why we made the decisions we made along the road. So we're not either making bad decisions over, because, you know, sometimes that happens with people changing and staff, and, you know, you look back at a version that you had, you know, 2 years ago and it completely flopped. And now the new people are saying, well, maybe we should try this. Well, no, we already tried that. That didn't work. So keeping and utilizing versioning is, I think it's a pretty important step. Next, the final slide for determining your process is, of course, we're back to publishing. And this is, again, delivering to our users, whether it be via website or we're doing something, maybe intranet, that we're posting things to our staff, those types of things. So you want to see what that process looks like. And then also, at what point are you going to be removing content? When does it become obsolete? When is a statistic from, you know, 2010 no longer relevant on your website or in your marketing material? So you got to know when to say when in that case. Okay. And then once you've done this, once you've looked at processes and so forth, you know, there's so many things that can be automated these days. So here's just a quick list of that. I have actually 2 slides for this, but you can, you know, automate importing of information. You can, you know, automate different things having to do with people's users and their roles in the firm can be built into different software packages. Responsibilities, workflows are now part of so many software packages. So we know that if we're working on a particular project, that we have to go through these specific steps. And if, you know, we can't do a quote for somebody if in fact we don't know, you know, the quantity of what they need, or the parts, or the machine. We need to have all that first before we can do the quote. So the system won't let you go past that quote if you don't have that other pieces of information. And the same goes for law firms. You know, if we're going to be filing a case, what do we have to do before we file a case? Well, we have to know who the parties are, what are the statistics, what, you know, if it's a workers' comp, we need to know the date of injury, we need to know the type of injury. So you need to get all of that information first. So really defining those tasks and assigning them to who has to do those tasks and who's going to capture that information, or, you know, fill out the forms, whether it's internal to you or even your clients and customers. So you'll want to make sure you definitely define a workflow. Oops, sorry about that. So also as part of the automating process, the ability to track and manage, again, multiple versions of a single instance of contact, I think is huge. I liked one of the systems that we use is Net Documents. I can go in there and look at a statement of work that I produced for a client, and it's may have taken me a month to put this together because there's a lot of back and forth that can go between myself and my client, but I can see all of the versions that we've gone through and the changes and all of that. And it really will help me the next time I'm working with this type of law firm or financial firm or whoever it is I work at, engineering, that I might be able to cut down that turnaround time based on the feedback that I received from my clients, and I track that in the versions. So something to think about. The ability to publish the content, of course, is huge, and personalizing content based on some set of rules that you have set up internally with your firm. You probably don't want to get too personal. You're not going to talk about somebody's, age or weight for that matter, but there are things that you can personalize on there, even if it's just saying happy birthday, you happen to know somebody's birthday's in the month of February, you can do something like that, keep it somewhat generic, but set up the rules so your organization knows how to follow those rules. And finally, automating your retention policies. We've touched on this a number of times, and what those procedures are, as far as, paper retention, electronic retention, deleting that information, or whatever that your internal procedures are going to be. Make sure they're defined and very clear for your firm to follow. About that, doing two things at once here. So in the end, what does content management bring to our table? And this is a list of what we hope, maybe not all of them, but I think that this is the list that you strive for when you're, thinking about implementing some type of formal content management system. And it really could even be non-formal if you can do it right with your server and whatnot. So some of the things is that you really want a simple user experience, and you really want that because you're going to have a better buy-in. People will use whatever it is. They'll follow the practices. They'll follow the workflows if it's simple enough. You want to make sure there's end user protection. You want to make sure that, a quick example, you're working in your firm, an email comes in, and that email is a phishing email. And while, there's, workflows in place and whatnot, they still click on the they click on the phishing email and there's a virus of some sort. You want to make sure that a system, if you're worried about emails, there's a lot of content management systems that integrate with email that won't happen. It'll stop that from happening before it can even get to them. So you want to think about that end user protection. You want to think about secure collaboration. So if I'm sending information to somebody outside my firm, I want to make sure that that information goes securely and encrypted. So there are many systems that can do that. If you're using Microsoft Word or Microsoft Office within your office and you don't have any other fancy software packages, utilize the features that are part of Outlook and part of Word to do that. You can password protect every document in your system. So do those types of things so you have secure collaboration. Contract management, of course, a lot of that is just being able to organize with your vendors, whether it be the software vendors that you work with or your other vendors of your organization. You want to make sure that you have a location where all your contracts are so you can refer to them easily to review any questionable items or anything. If you have any questions, you just want to make sure that you're managing those and the renewals and what they say as far as increasing costs, things of that nature. So really handling the contract management becomes very important. I touched on this with the end user protection, but intuitive inbox management, there's lots of systems that as emails come in, they can do predictive predictive, what's the word I'm looking for? I apologize. Predictive filing. So if I'm sharing an email with Sue perhaps, and we've been going back and forth, when an email comes back from Sue, the system already knows where to file that in my net document system because I've already told it. So anytime I receive an email from Sue, it knows where to file it, cuts down on the clicks that I have to do. So there's lots of things like that that are built into packages that you don't think saves a lot of time, but I mean, I get a lot of emails. So 40, 50 clicks during the day, that does save me time over the course of the day. You want to make sure that your package, anything that you have that integrates with other firm systems. So if you have a something, let's say like Clio, that is a practice management, it also does billing, but it also integrates with electronic payments. It also, you can have an electronic receptionist who can integrate with Clio. There's lots of different packages out there that integrate. There's you know, document management systems like NetDocuments. It integrates with so many Salesforce and you know, case management packages and just all sorts of really great packages out there. The rest of them, you know, contextual collaboration. Again, you're looking at the context in which you have your data, that you might be sharing it in different ways. You want to make sure you have a mobile option with what you're doing. Enterprise searching is super important, being able to find things quickly. Having offline capabilities, since we're all working from home and sometimes our cable isn't quite as reliable as we'd like it to be, being able to still work offline is super helpful. And then a system that has shortcuts and favorites. So for instance, I'll just bring this up one last time, is NetDocuments, is that if I'm working in NetDocuments and it's not only a document management system, but it's a full enterprise-wide system, I have my desktop within that package where I have all of my favorite files that I'm working on right now, the documents that I'm working on now. So all my work in progress is sitting right in front of me. So I can just click on it. I don't have to search for it or anything like that. So it's really, you know, you want to look for systems that make your life easier and not harder. You want to work smarter, not longer. And then finally, this again will be included. Don't worry about jotting all of this down, but these are links that'll be in the PowerPoint presentation that takes you out to Capterra is one of the leading software review companies where you can go to find software packages, and it's being reviewed by peers. So it's being reviewed by people who are using the packages, hopefully. I mean, that's what they say, but so going out to here, you can, there's takes you out to the list for the top 20 CM systems, CCM. So all of the different packages that we've talked about. Certainly here's a link over to NetDocuments if you want more information on that. If you want to see that, I know I kind of, as I timed it, I knew we weren't going to be able to necessarily show some packages today. If you feel like you want to see NetDocuments or Box or some other packages, I am more than happy to either provide you with a demo myself, or if it's a package that we don't support, I will get the right person in place to meet with us to do that. Of course, there's also a link to our webpage. It gives us more information about who we are, what we've done, where we've come from, what we support, all that good stuff. So we're right at 12:03. So what I want to do is I would like to open this up. If anybody has any questions, I know I went through that pretty quick. I am a fast talker. Certainly, if you would like to jot down our email addresses, if you have questions later that you think of outside of this, feel free to contact us. But certainly if you want to unmute yourself here and ask any questions or provide feedback or anything like that, please feel free to do so. I feel like the Jeopardy music should be playing.
Yeah. And I just want to put in a plug for, I have a project management webinar coming up on Thursday. If anybody is interested in information about that, we'd be happy to send that to you as well.
Great point. I don't think anybody has any questions for us. We did have the time scheduled to 12:15 just in case. But certainly we want to thank you for.
Oh, wait, we've got,
there's one.
okay. So Katie would like information on the webinar. So
Great.
I will send that to you, Katie.
And if anybody's interested in Clio,
Thank you.
you're welcome. If anybody's interested in Clio, we're doing a webinar next month on Clio and all its grandeur. So we'll be doing that as well. So certainly, you know, look back at our website when you have a chance. We'll be updating it. We're really going to be putting out a lot of webinars. Excuse me. Some of them won't be, you know, quite this long, just like 20-minute like feature sets and things of that nature. So we'll be working on keeping that up to speed as much as we can. So look back there. And I guess I thank you so much for coming. I think that we'll stop here. Oh, Sue would also like that, Jerry. Info on both webinars. So we'll get that out as well. Yeah, she just sent me the message. So thanks, Sue. And again, thanks everybody. And I will send out the PowerPoint deck to everybody as soon as we get it organized. Actually, probably the video even, or both. We'll have to see how that works out. But I'll get that out just as soon as I can. And like I said, if you have any questions, email us or call us, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.